So Sara, just a couple of questions. First of all, your commitment at the moment, what you're involved on at the moment, and then the art scene of your town and country.
Yeah, so what I'm doing at the moment since now, it's 6 years, I'm the director of Bonniers Konsthall, who is a newly opened Kunsthalle in Stockholm. And I came there before the building was there, so I've really been a part of building up the whole structure and organizing it and thinking about the profile. It's been a crazy amount of work, of course, but it's been really interesting. And I think one needs to know a bit the scene in Stockholm to understand the setting, because Bonniers Konsthall is a privately founded art institution. It's founded by a family of collectors that are also publishers. And when we opened, there was just one more privately founded Konsthall in Stockholm, Magazine 3, that they have a big collection and they are quite well known. And they've been running for 20 years. And then it was Moderna Museet, who is state founded, and Kunsthalles like Liljevalchs that are founded by the city, and some artist-run spaces. What you can see at the moment is that it's such an intense scene in terms of institutions. We have several privately founded art institutions. We also have a really good amount of city-founded and artist-run spaces, and Moderna Museet is very active. So it's a very energetic scene at the moment, with a lot of places for exhibitions, but also the art schools are very active, and so it's a new and very intense situation. And also with the very interesting curators coming back to Sweden, like Donny Birnbaum, who is now the director of Moderna Museet, and Maria Lind, who is the director of Tiziana Casapietra, which is this city-run space outside Stockholm. It's quite an interesting situation where one could also develop different, quite subjective modes of curating, not being responsible of doing everything at one institution. So I think it's, in that sense, it's a really good situation.
So you create a kind of synergy between
definitely so. And also because we have Jaspis, the residency program, where I worked before as a director, that is also a good place for having an international exchange. So I think for its size, Stockholm has a really impressive art scene. And I think that also influences how the artists could work, and the exchange with the international art scene that is very strong at the moment.
Why do you think this is happening in Stockholm, in a moment which is such a difficult moment in Europe? Why do you think Stockholm is kind of facing such an interesting situation, an energetic situation, if you compare it to other countries?
I think the bad times is on its way to Sweden also. So we are, also in a recession time, so we see how it develops. But when all this started, it was a time where there was a moment where both the city, the state, and private collectors could invest quite a lot of energy in building up institutions. Then I think it's pure coincidence. One starts and then that becomes an inspiration for another person. So it's a lot about the special persons and situations.
Okay. So would you like to go into the specific, about maybe your program or the events that are happening at the moment in Stockholm that you'd like to discuss about?
I think it's what is good at the moment is, of course, this intense scene with a lot of institutions. What is more problematic is, of course, that the discussion around culture and culture funding that we have in Europe in general is also coming to Sweden. And you can see now that when the city and the state thinks about funding, they speak more about joints between public and private, and also the idea of that culture should be benefit, the tourist industry or different regions. And I think that discussion, is highly problematic at the moment. And I think also because we now have a lot of privately founded institutions, there is a moment where the state and the city could withdraw. So I think it's really important that we keep the discussion up all the time and not make that possible. I think it's more and more you can see, or especially if you look at the regions, that it's difficult to maintain institutions without thinking in terms of this is good for the region or unemployment or education, or so there is an instrumentalization of culture, and we're talking more about culture industries now than we did 10 years ago. So I think that development is quite problematic, and you recognize this of course from the rest of Europe. So there I think it's really important also that all the different kinds of institutions in Sweden and Stockholm have a discussion with each other and find arguments for art for its own sake, so to say, and not get caught in this more instrumental way of thinking of culture policies.
Yeah. Is there anything specific that you'd like to highlight in your program, in the institution you are directing?
I think for me, when I came to Bonniers Konsthall, from the background of being an art critic more than an institution person, and then also with the experience of a jazzbis to create exchange, but also to support artist production, I felt it was really important when there was a possibility to have a platform where artists could get support for the productions. So for us, we have one strong line in our profile is to do larger commissions with individual artists, and really to carry their work from a research stage to artworks and exhibition. And I think that is very unusual to be able to do that now. It's very few institutions that are state or city funded that can do that. So for me, that is an important responsibility, and really there to work from the beginning and to trust what artists do and invite them to come here and do something new for us. From the beginning, there was no intention to create a collection here. It was meant to be a Kunsthalle. But when we started to work with these more long-term commissions, we felt it would be a bit sad to lead them. So I started slowly to build a collection from the works that we have been producing here at the Kunsthalle. So it's a very small but organically developed collection that comes from what artists have exhibited here. And there we have also been thinking of trying to commission work that is maybe not so common to do, performative work, also performance, larger installations, things that are not so material or easy to collect in a way. So that's been very important for us. So in that strand of exhibitions, we've been working with Monica Bonvicini, Thomas Saraceno, Michelle Beutler. Now we are working with a large exhibition with Jeppe Hein, the Danish artist. So it's really a series of exhibitions that for us has been very important in our profile. Then we have worked with projects that have a strong connection to research work at a university, and there we have tried to develop more cross-disciplinary projects. We work with one of the universities in Stockholm since a long time, since the start, Södertörn University, that have a really interesting research profile in aesthetics. And together with them we developed projects that have a quite long time span. One example is a big project we did for 2 years around culture translatability, which was a fantastic but very complex project that involved researchers from a lot of different disciplines, but also from our side an exhibition where we invited two guest curators, Jochen Woltz and Daniela Castro, that was based in Brazil, and they developed an exhibition around this concept of translatability. And together with the university, we also developed research work and seminars and roundtables and publication. And these projects are, for me, really important because we could think more long-term and really think about producing knowledge in a different way.
Okay, and there is an issue that I was mentioning to you, the issue of art and society that keep arising whenever I speak with curators or artists. So what do you think about it?
I think if you look at the Scandinavian scene, there's always been a strong connection between art and society. We have that tradition in a lot of different ways. Both the artist as someone who comments and criticizes society, and in that sense produces knowledge about who we are and what we could do. But then we also have a tradition where the artists very actively take part in the building of society, and that was of course very strong in the 60s and the 70s. I would say today what you can see is mostly the artist as a critic or person that comments and looks at society and starts a dialogue and a discussion about what society is or could be or should not be. And that tradition is really strong in Sweden still. I would say especially in moving image work. And there, of course, you think of an artist like Ann-Sofie Sidén, but also younger generation like Petra Bauer that have been actively really discussing problems in society. So it's there, definitely. Then one could also see, which is interesting, when we have a situation with a lot of new institutions starting in Sweden, you can see that all of them develop their program from an idea of the Swedish quite open and a society where we think that culture should connect to everyone. So even private institutions like mine or ITP Lag or Sven-Harry Karlsson or Magazine 3, they have a public program with education for kids and discussions. I think there is a tradition there when you can see, I mean, private institution could be built up really like closed mausoleums for a collection, and we don't build institutions in that way. So that goes still, I think. It's a way of thinking of that art has a role in society. Then I think right now, and this of course connects to the global situation, that we can see that artists are forming more micro-societies that are not so much in contact with a larger place where they live, because artists are now so mobile and dynamic, and they connect to artists or curators in different parts of the world that share ideas. And I think in this specialized society where we form very small communities where we interact, there is a danger there that we lose a more public platform where we can share ideas with people from different parts of society. And that you can see is, I think that's a negative trend that you can see also in the Scandinavian countries.
If you want to highlight a topic that is important for you, that may be something that you are very focused on at the moment whenever you think about contemporary art, is there any specific issue you'd like to raise?
Yeah, I think it's really important, coming back to what we discussed in the beginning, that art is not closing itself too much in its own circles, just connecting to art specialists globally, but really try to think also local and try to bridge to other disciplines and other areas of society, to not lose this public debate where I think art could be really important. I think that's very important today, so that contemporary art not becomes circles of elites that is traveling globally to different biennials and thinking together at conferences. We really try to also be responsible to connect to their local communities.